It was the last day of the class trip to Dunwich Hill, a place where the fog always seemed too thick and the wind whispered things you couldn't quite hear. Mr. Harris had warned the students not to wander off the trail, but of course, someone did. That someone was Brian. Brian was the class clown, always messing around, pushing the limits, and eager to prove he wasn't afraid of anything. When the group reached the old watchtower at the top of the hill, Brian challenged them all to a dare. "I'll climb to the top," he grinned, his voice muffled by the thickening fog. "Bet you won't." The rest of the class groaned. They were tired and cold, and the last thing they wanted was to stay any longer. But Brian didn't wait for permission. He bolted up the winding stairs of the tower, disappearing into the mist that clung to the structure like a ghostly veil. "Brian, get down!" Mr. Harris shouted. His voice echoed eerily. But Brian didn't listen. Moments passed. Then minutes. Too many. "Brian?" One of the students called up, but there was no response. Just silence. An oppressive, unnatural quiet. The group waited, expecting to see Brian's face peer down from the top with some stupid joke, but nothing happened. After several minutes of tense waiting, Mr. Harris, his face pale with worry, climbed up the tower to find him. The class watched as he slowly ascended, swallowed by the fog. They strained their ears, waiting for something. Anything, but heard only the soft groan of the wind and the creaking of the old wooden stairs. Then, suddenly, Mr. Harris shouted. When he reappeared, his face was ashen, eyes wide with terror. "He's gone," he said, barely able to speak. "He's not up there." The students exchanged confused glances. "He has to be," one girl cried. "He didn't come down. Where could he have gone?" But Mr. Harris was already pulling out his phone, his hands trembling as he tried to dial for help. The signal was weak, and the calls wouldn't go through. Panic spread among the students. Some wanted to run down the hill. Others insisted on searching the tower, but none of them could explain it. Brian had simply vanished. As the fog thickened, enveloping them, strange things started happening. They heard footsteps, heavy, uneven, circling the tower. But whenever they looked, no one was there. Whispers filled the air, faint and mocking, just beyond understanding. Then came the laughter, Brian's laughter. But it sounded wrong, distorted, like it wasn't really him anymore. One by one, the students began to flee, but no matter how fast they ran down the trail, it seemed they couldn't get any closer to the base of the hill. It was as though the path was stretching, twisting, trapping them in some unnatural loop. By the time rescue teams arrived the next morning, they found the class huddled at the bottom of the tower, shivering and incoherent. Everyone except Brian. He was never found. Legend has it, on misty nights like that one, you can still hear Brian's laughter echoing through the fog on Dunwich Hill. But if you hear it, you should run, because he's still there, waiting for someone to find him, or worse, to join him.